can I start with apologies for absence?
None that I'm aware of, Chair.
No, at the moment. Okay. Before I ask you to agree the published report of the minutes of the last meeting, I would like to read something to you. Members, please note that further to decision EX/2124, where it was resolved that additional wording should be added to the paragraph 112 of the Treasury Management Strategy in relation to disinvestments, legal advice received subsequently made it clear that it was beyond the scope of the powers of executive to resolve those additional words. In addition, the executive was obliged to consider the public sector equality duty, which it did not. As a result, we could not take that resolution forward to full council as part of the Treasury Management Strategy. The public decisions of the executive held on the 12th of January should therefore be approved as an accurate record, subject to noting that resolution EX/2124 could not be progressed following legal advice. Is everyone clear on that? Thank you very much. Can we then approve the minutes? Thank you very much. We then move on I remind members about section 106, about disclosures of interest, and we have some business not covered by the current forward plan, and that is inclusive, under the inclusive growth agenda, requests for fare increase for the Hackney carriage vehicles. Over to yourself, Rob. So,
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I think you're declaring one as well, are you? Yeah. Okay.
So for Councillor Frank's clarification, I'm declaring interest in the taxi fares, and I'm leaving because I'm a licensed driver in 3.1. Just so because you just come in. I'm declaring an interest in 3.1. I'm leaving now.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, Rob.
Following the previous report to the Executive in January, the decision was to consult on option B, which was the request from the Luton Hackney Carriage Association to increase the Hackney carriage fares. The consultation was conducted in line with the legislative requirements, with the required public notice plus information sent direct to the Hackney carriage trade, all councillors and private hire operators. The consultation was conducted for 14 days, given the timeline required to be able to bring the matter back to the Executive within the required 2 months. 2 objections were received from councillors stating that the increase was too high, considering the cost of living and the competition with the private hire trade, which could jeopardise their livelihoods and price them out of the business, but did not appear to appreciate that this proposal was the request of the trade rather than the council. No comments or objections were received from the public or the trade. The Executive therefore recommended to ratify the proposed fares and for these to come into effect immediately as detailed in the report Appendix A. If ratified by the Executive, then the licensing services will produce a new fare chart and start working with the trade to update the Hackney carriage meters so that increased fares can be applied. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rob. Are there any questions on the report before us this evening? None? We happy to approve? Yeah. Thank you very much. We now move over to the second item, which is the Luton Play and Pitch strategy. I think that might be Kachita, mightn't it?
He's just coming back in.
Yeah, so give her a few minutes. Yeah. Okay, Kachita? Yeah. Thank you. This is just to update Executive on the progress of the development of the Luton's indoor built facilities strategy IFS and playing pitch strategy PPS, as well as the multi-sport hubs MSH, and to seek endorsement to go out to public consultation for April 2024. Executive is recommended to note the playing pitch and indoor facility strategies and action plans as set out on Appendix A, B, C and D. Endorse a public consultation on both strategies and note the timeline. Thank you. Thank you, Kachita. Are there any questions Yes, David.
Yeah, thank you, Hazel. I'm not sure that anyone's going to have the answer to this, but if someone could let me know, I'd be grateful. I'm looking at page 68 and the table of sites and the community use hours. It would be helpful to know whether this is, the hours are per week or whatever, please.
Can anybody answer that? No?
If
Do you
someone
want to
could let
send
me
a
know.
response later? Okay.
I'm told it may be a week, but I can check and get back to you if that's okay.
Thank you, that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, David. Anybody else? Are we happy to approve the report? Thank you very much. We now move, there's no business of special urgency, no references from committees and other bodies, no recommendations from scrutiny reviews and no petitions. So we move on to the following item, which is regarding the resignation of a member from SACRA, the outside body, and I move the recommendation that's in the report this evening, and I will have to come back with the name. I haven't got a name at this moment in time. Is that agreed by everyone? Agreed. Thank you. Now move on to the Luton Employment and Skills Plan implementation. Javeria.
Thank you very much, Chair. The recommendations are before the Executive, but I'd just like to say a few words, if I may, as way of background. So we have the Employment and Skills Plan, which is 4 strategic priorities. First is to skills driving economic recovery and growth. Second is developing pipeline of talent and resilient people. Thirdly is to tackling long-term inequity in economic activity and creating an adaptable, upskilled workforce. That was the 4th one. An annual report is produced covering actions and achievements of the Economic Growth and Skills team within the Employment and Skills Partnership Board. That's the ESPB. Now, by way of background, we continue to see a positive impact on jobs, skills and training opportunities available to our local residents. Our schools are improving on pre-COVID results and interaction with employers has increased. Our colleges continue to respond to employer skills needs, whilst the University of Bedfordshire is investing in skills for the future. The proposed expansion of London Luton Airport Limited offers the potential for increased inward investment to create high-value jobs and careers. And obviously, we also welcome the news from Vauxhall's parent company, Stellantis, to begin electric vehicle production at Luton from 2025. This obviously, no doubt, will create more sustainable jobs in the long term, and as well as opportunities for young people, which is really great. Our major successes the annual year have been 50.4% of disadvantaged pupils achieving grades 4 plus in English and Maths, up from 44.7% in 2019. 92% of Luton schools, colleges have Ofsted ratings of good or better, including preparation of next skills employment adult life. 94% of Luton schools achieving the Gatsby benchmark of 8, national average is 73.3%. Decrease in the proportion of economically inactive, age 16.64 age range, from 39.2% in 2022 to 31.2% for October 22 to September 2023. As you know, there's lots of stats here. 500 University of Bedfordshire students now working on live projects for businesses, increased in adult and lifelong learning participation from 3,240 in 2021 to 3,931 in 2023. 300 young people aged 10 to 19 attended the second Luton Employability Day to meet 33 exhibitors and 35 role models. And we also have an annual Employability Day, which will be taking place later on this year in South Ward. 150 masterclasses delivered by local employers to support Barnfield College students' understanding of local employment opportunities. And finally, Luton Adult Learning and the University of Bedfordshire rated as good by Ofsted. So that's some of our major successes. But however, having said that, we know there is still more to do. As you all know, the number of local claimants rose by 1,215 from 7,370 in January to 8,470 in November 2023. the rise in claimant numbers amongst those between the age range of 16 to 24 in 2023 from 1,065 rose to January to 1,375 in November. So that's a bit of an increase. But having said that, I mean, we are optimistic. We have some plans in the pipeline, and we are going to work hard to make sure that we make greater use of the apprenticeship levy pledges to enable Luton employers to provide opportunities for Luton residents. And also, in this regard, I just finally wanted to say that on Friday is International Women's Day, and the theme for this year is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. And we will be ensuring that there are obviously opportunities for our female workforce, and we will be working hard with local employers as well as the university establishment and other education providers to ensure that we achieve gender equity and equality for a more prosperous and inclusive town. Thank you.
Thank you, Javeria. Are there any questions? Tom?
In a lot of the planning applications, what come in, we put local employment courses, local training courses, but we haven't got the staff in the planning department to go out and monitor it. I'm just wondering, with the amount of work that's coming forward with Bute Street, Power Court, Hayward and Tyler, whether it'd be worth us talking to the CITB about if they jointly appoint a monitoring officer with us to make sure the construction, what we've put in planning, is actually monitored and the youngsters get a chance. That's the first one. The second one is, a lot of the kids that go forward for construction courses are have been excluded from school, a lot of them. One of the things they've got to get for the course is a basic in maths and English. And I've done 2 appeals in the last 6 months at Dunstable College, where kids have been excluded. They've attended all the manual side, but when it comes to the maths and English, the attendance has gone down to below 50%, so they're being excluded for college. I wonder if it's worthwhile talking to ACE or Connections for those kids what are excluded, whether there's an opportunity for them to get their maths and English, which they need for the Construction Industry Training Board, in a less formal setting than the classroom. Because these are kids that have been kicked out of classrooms a lot earlier in their life. They've been through ACE and Connections. They go off to college to learn construction, but they get kicked out because they haven't got those basics in maths and English. Is there a way through adult education, through ACE, through Connections, for anybody, we can look and see if there's an informal, a less formal way for them to get them 2 basics so they can carry on with their courses? And it'll save me doing appeals as well. So.
That's things that we can take away and have a look at.
Okay, thank you, Javeria. Rob?
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking at the recommendations, point 2, about comments making recognition of proposed activities for 24 and KPIs. The thing that's just missing for me here, again, is the special education needs schools and delivery of what we're doing for special education needs. I can't see it here, and I think on the impact assessment, it also mentions the lack of statistics in relation to disability. So I'd just like to see a bit more about what we're doing with those children, because I know, Martin, you've got links now with Woodland School, I believe, yeah. I'd just like to see a little bit more, than in the focus, a little bit more, if that's okay. Thank you, Hazel.
If I could respond to that, they are in the focus, but we can make sure that they are specifically mentioned in that. That's not a problem.
Thank you, Javeria. Right, James.
Thank you. Just wanted to talk a little bit about attainment. And I know across the country it seems minority groups are doing really well and they're achieving their attainment, but I think I've seen nationally one group going backwards is white working class males in particular. I'm just wondering if that's reflected locally, and if so, is there anything we're doing to sort of talk with our partners to see what we can do to try and challenge that?
Yeah, insofar as that is concerned, there was a report that was sent to the Children Scrutiny Board last week in relation to attainment. And obviously, nationally, as you know, the figures are high, but locally there is a concern. I mean, obviously it's a matter of public record, but what we are doing, we are going to be working with the local schools at the local schools forum to address some of those challenges that we have. And it's just not white working class young children, there are also other children from other backgrounds and ethnicities as well. But insofar as that's concerned, we are going to make sure that we work with those local systems, and obviously have explores ways in which we can actually improve that. And obviously for us, it's about outcomes at the end of the day. So schools, you're absolutely, I know what you're saying. Schools, it's very well that they have very good or excellent ratings, but at the end of the day, if the kids aren't attaining, then obviously that is a bit of a concern. But we are headed in the right direction, and that is something that we will be actively monitoring and making sure we achieve those outcomes.
Okay, James? Any other questions? Javed?
Thank you, Chair. My question, I think, is for Martin. At scrutiny, there was a lot of, through the portfolio, there was a lot of questions, a lot of very useful comments raised. Obviously, this report goes to 27. Have you incorporated, or have got plans to incorporate what was discussed? Because it was quite a lengthy discussion. Can you give me assurance that we're going to make sure that those comments get picked up?
Absolutely. We always knew this document, a 5-year span, would be an organic one. It would need to be refreshed so it's fit for purpose. Things never stand still, certainly not in the economy. So we are refreshing both the implementation plan and focusing far more in terms of key performance indicators on activity that has a clear measure, both from a sort of geographic point of view, areas of most need across Luton, but also from a demographic point of view, and young people, as already mentioned, so that nobody is left behind as we start to improve the connectivity, if you like, between employers and educationalists, so that we all know the skills that are going to be needed in the future, and we make sure they're provided. So there will be a review this year, a refresh, if you like. It is a bit like painting the fourth bridge. We'll never get there, but we have to keep this, making sure that we're up to date in terms of the situation we're facing with statistics and so on. So yes, the short answer, it will be updated and incorporated into wider aspects. Marmot Town would be another example of where there's clear overlap.
Okay.
Chair, if I also may add, thanks for that, Martin, is that we're also at the same time refreshing our education strategy as well. These are all living, live documents. As you know, Mr. Deputy Leader, nothing is set in stone and nothing is static, because obviously the needs change, the Luton's demographics change, the needs of local employers change as well. And as you know, we've also recently kick-started our pilot of community jobs fairs. We're into our second one now, and that's going to be a huge learning exercise, and hopefully we will be ensuring that there are similar community jobs fairs across the Borough of Luton, where employers and as well as adult and skills providers as well as educators will be there to speak to local residents, particularly those who either want a career move or those who are looking for work as well. So we are very active, and we are going to ensure that we do everything that we can to ensure that Luton hits its targets with regards to 2040. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any other questions? We happy to agree the report? Thank you very much. We now move on to Kachuta and Luton's Collaborative All-Age Mental Health Strategy.
Thank you. We are bringing the draft Luton's Collaborative All-Age Mental Health Strategy to Executive for agreement to go out to public consultation. This is a co-produced whole system mental health strategy and sets out the high-level approach which Luton will take to improve the mental health of its population. This will underpin our detailed action plan, which will form a separate document and be used to implement our priorities according to our strategic direction. Our strategy takes into account the specific needs of Luton's population due to its demographic and the experiences of its residents. Luton's young and ethnically diverse population, along with its high level of poverty, unemployment, homelessness and substance misuse, mean that approaches taken to improve mental health may differ from across other parts of BLMK. In addition, this strategy will contribute to the delivery of the Luton 2040, follow the health equity principles of Luton as a Marmot town, and utilise the findings from local research such as Talk, Listen and Change and the Denny Review. Some specific issues which have been highlighted in Luton based on our needs assessments include a high prevalence of mental health needs, the impact of deprivation on mental health, people accessing services late, for example in crisis rather than at the early help stage. Access to services is lower amongst those who are not of white British ethnicity, and higher premature mortality amongst those with severe mental health illnesses. Amongst children and young people, a high proportion of Luton's children and young people are accessing mental health services and are requiring mental health inpatient admissions compared to the England average. There are also fewer than expected children and young people who are not of white British ethnicity accessing services. The proportion in children in care for whom emotional well-being is a cause of concern is higher than the England average. The strategy has identified priorities of improving prevention of poor and worsening mental health and to improve access to services, underpinned by strength, integration, experience, quality of service. These are discussed in detail within the strategy. Examples of how we implement these priorities include approaches to build community resilience, reduce stigma around mental health, promote a trauma-informed approach for services across Luton, ensure there is a clear and up-to-date information on resources, support and services shared with Luton residents and organisations developing a no wrong door approach for services, improving the accessibility and cultural competence of services for those from ethnically diverse communities, improving transition from children to adult services, supporting employee mental well-being and developing better pathways and processes for how organisations communicate with each other and improve support and involvement for carers and family members. We are currently developing our action plans, work streams and implementations, structure and governance, and are holding a workshop on Thursday the 7th of March. We will be developing clear outcome measures and data dashboards to monitor these. Our plans for public consultation include sharing a survey both online and in paper form, shared in areas with high footfall in Luton. We will also be running targeted consultation sessions for key groups, focusing on those who are at greater risk of health inequalities and who are less likely to complete an online paper survey. I therefore recommend to Executive to approve the Luton's collaborative on all mental health strategy to go out to public consultation, and to note that public consultation will take the form of an online survey, paper survey distributed throughout Luton, and face-to-face consultations meeting targets at population most at risk of health inequalities and less likely to respond to a survey. Thank you.
Thank you, Kachita. Are there any questions? Yes, Rob. No, carry on. No.
Just a comment really, because the recommendations are quite clear here. I think this strategy, we need to say well done to the team for this strategy, because I think it's a great strategy. However, we must never underestimate the amount of work that's involved in this strategy. It is massive. So I fully support it, but we need to obviously see how this moves forward, because how you link it all up and the finance and how it's just massive, I think, you know. So I just want to say well done to the team for tackling this, firstly, and it has my support, but I'd be interested to see how we go forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Tom?
Chair, it's a massive job you're going to have to do, but what I'd like to see come out of it at the end is a joint protocol between all the different departments of the council, because what happens at the moment doesn't work, where you may have an housing tenant with having a mental health episode, and housing's got to act one way, where, you know, social care would have acted a different way. So I would hope for once we could have a council-wide joint protocol that if someone comes to one department, that's enough to start the ball rolling and everyone else dealing with it. It doesn't happen that way at the moment. They get shunted from one department to another. So hopefully Kachita will get a joint protocol out of it where everyone knows when someone comes in, that one first touch, if you know what I mean, can start the ball rolling for people's mental health. And that way we can only help people.
Did you want to come back?
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that we've seen working together in some of our portfolio meetings to see how we can address that. So definitely take the comments on board. Thank you.
Maria?
Thanks, Chair. Just welcome the report and the proposal 14, especially that there'll be equal engagement for all agencies and all voices will be listened to equally. And the key risks as well, 15, 16 and 17. Just wanted to mention that Hazel and I were at a women's event yesterday at the Central Mosque, and there was a good presentation by an organisation based in Luton offering mental health services for young people as well. which I think is really brilliant. You know, that if we could, you know, contact them, I'm happy to give you the information, because they're already launching a mental health program for young people called Teens and Tweens very soon, which I think, you know, that will be good to, you know, to contact them, and work with them if you can.
Thank you, Maria. It's important to note that this collaborative strategy has been co-produced with our partners and stakeholders, rather than just a strategy owned by us as a council. They will be working on this strategy alongside us. This is just more focused on Luton and Luton people for us to be able to really work with them, but happy to take that on board from yourself. Thank you.
Thanks. James?
Thank you. I talk about partnership working, and I think a really important partner in it is going to be Bedfordshire Police. Because unfortunately, because of the sustained cuts to public funding, mental health provision is probably not where it needs to be, and it's often the police that are left picking up the pieces. So having their input on this, I think, is going to be a really important part of it, certainly.
James.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Tamina?
Thank you, Khadija. It's good to see that you mentioned transitions in there, because we've had quite a lot of feedback in children's services with regards to moving from 18 to adult services and the shock to the system for young people. So it's going to be really important to hear. So I'm really happy that that's been touched on, and look forward to hearing what the consultation says with respect to transition. Thanks.
So I think it's really important that we really get people to feed back onto that, so that we have that there, because sometimes it's difficult for those that aren't able to have their voice heard to be part of that. So
Thanks. Javiria?
Thanks very much. Thank you for the report, Khadija. Just a suggestion. The BLMK, I believe they do have a desk at the remaining community jobs fairs, so perhaps there could be paper surveys available, and obviously at those remaining jobs fairs. I think they may have them, but it would be good to have that plus some information as well, so the residents are a bit more informed, and you can use that opportunity as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions from anybody? Happy to agree? Thank you very much. Can I take the statement as read, please? We only have